Hello and welcome. And we're going to do a little bit of a practice that gets into a lot of different hip movement and spinal movement. It just gets us really out of the sagittal and frontal plane and into just moving into in between all three sagittal, frontal, and transverse planes, getting our bodies moving basically in a lot of different directions. So what we're going to need for today's practice is two blocks, and if you want to have a blanket or a pillow for any part of it, maybe to soften the blow under your knees, soften your knees a little bit, then feel free to have one of those at hand. But we're going to start today's practice in child's pose. So I'd like you to join me by having your knees either together or slightly wider, so there's space maybe for your body, or to rest your belly on. And let your arms be extended in front of you for this pose. Just taking a few breaths here. As you breathe, really try to visualize how your breath is moving around your body. And see if you can even feel the energy and that sensation of your breath. Reach down, tailbone, and as you inhale, maybe the tailbone feels like it's getting longer and heavier. As you exhale, you can sink deeper into the feeling of the child's pose. Your fingertips. And exhale to maybe release a bit of that clenching that might be held in your shoulders. Energy down to your toes. And as you exhale, unclench and take away the tension that's in your legs. I'd like you to now slowly start to bend your right elbow. Slide your palm down so that your elbow bends down by your sides. And reach your left arm over the side of your body. Put that heavy, putting your shoulder into your ear. And see if you can playing a lovely tune. One more breath here. Start to slide your left arm over, recenter your spine, reach your right arm up toward the top of your mat. Left side bend, breathing. Muscles that hold your feet together. Center. Spread your fingers and slowly pull your hands against the stickiness of your mat to draw your body up and up into a hands and knees position. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Let your knees rest underneath your hip joints, toes untucked, and start to just let your shoulders reach back behind you as if your chest is trying to sink down between your arms. And then push down with your hands to let your chest lift up to the top of your arms. So you get that protraction and retraction, slow motion movement between your shoulder blades. Press down, and then let your chest come back down between your shoulders. One more, up and down. And then draw your shoulders to somewhere in the middle where you feel stable and supported, but you're not resting it on the joints. And I'd like you to move your pelvis in a little bit of cat-cow movement. So lift your tailbone as you inhale, and then tuck it as you exhale. Move your pelvis between forward tilt and backward tilt. Like you're doing cat-cow, but it's primarily just the pelvis that you're focusing on. And then bring your pelvis to a neutral position between the two, so it feels like your pubic bone and tailbone are both reaching back directly behind you. And then I'd like you to just take a few breaths into the sides of your ribs until it feels like you're getting wider and then shrinking back to the midline as you exhale. So it's like a lateral cat-cow. That's going to be the most tiny movement that is so hard to demonstrate. But I really want you to visualize. It's mostly in your head, thinking about your breath expanding to the sides, into the sides of your hips and into your ribs and into your armpits as you inhale. And then drawing back inward toward your center line from your armpits, hips, and ribs. And one more of those. And as you find that final exhale draws everything back into your midline, try to hold just a tiny bit of that toning that you might feel in your body as you grab a block and place it under your right knee. You're going to feel a little bit awkward to begin with because you're asymmetrical, more so than usual, more asymmetrical than we always are. But trust me, just stick with me here. Let's do this together. Keep your right knee on a block. I'd like you to think about trying to keep your thighs vertical. Look down, and I want you to keep your left knee at the angle that it's at, more or less 90 degrees. And we're just going to take a breath in and lift up that whole left shin, that whole left leg. So lifting up that vertical thigh upward, and exhale to lower it back down. So this isn't a dog pee situation where your leg is going out to the side, your leg is going up, and your pelvis is shifting up and down. And we're working on trying to stimulate and open up and mobilize the sacroiliac joints. And do two more. And one more. Good. With your left shin down now, take that block out from under your right knee, place it under your right hand, and then stretch your right leg back behind you. Lift up your right foot off the ground without trying to sink into your low back, and bend your knee. And just make some big circles now with your right knee. So I'm going to ask you to do anti-clockwise, counterclockwise circles, circles, circle around with your right knee. And then finally, step your right foot outside that block on your right hand and keep your right hand on the block. Gently press downward with your whole right foot. Get your toes involved. Don't forget, they are part of you still. Press downward with your whole left shin, and then start to gently, as if you're pulling a bow and arrow, draw your left hand up toward the sky. Use a little bit of pressure on your right arm and right knee against each other, and lean slightly back into that pose. Take a few breaths here. Trying to let your pelvis get heavy. Gently bring your left hand back down to the ground. Push down with your left hand, and then pull your right arm up. And now as you pull your right arm up, the temptation will be to lean to the left and let your right knee drop in. Try to keep your toes all grounded. Keep your right hip heavy, as if you're trying to push your whole right thigh away from you. And as your right thigh is reaching away from your chest, push down with your left shin. And let your arms get as wide as they can get. On your next exhale, slowly bring your left hand down to the outside of your, slowly bring your right hand, this one's right, to the outside of your right hip and sort of hook your thumb into that hip crease. And as you do that, push down like you're using it to help bring you up. And then bring your left hand up to the sky. Use that right hand to keep your right hip heavy. Keep an eye on your big toe. It's going to want to disappear, but don't let it. Keep an eye on it like you're suspicious of it, and just gently side bend a little bit to your right. And as you do that bit of a side bend, you can start adding a bit of movement if you like. So the movement can be rotating slightly to your left, like you're trying to look at your armpit, and then exhale, rotate slightly to the right, like you're trying to show everybody your armpit. Left and right. Just small rotations. One more. And one more. I already said one more, but that's it this time. And take your left hand down onto the block now. With your left hand on the block, walk your right foot over toward the right so that your right foot is sort of in line with your left knee, and then use your right hand to push your knee a bit away from you. Left hand on the block, just going to reach the hips back and forward. So you're trying to keep that external rotation in your right knee. And it's also like to encourage you to keep all of your toes on that right foot connected to the ground so that your foot gets into that movement of the supination and pronation as your pelvis reaches forward and back. One more. And come back to neutral. Use your right hand on that thigh to help bring your left arm up to the sky. And side bend. Bring your forearm to your thigh. So you come into an extended side angle variation. Just for a few breaths. On your next exhale, let your left arm drop down as if your arm is falling out of the shoulder socket, and just let it get heavy and droopy. And just sort of flop it around. Take your left hand back down to the ground. Take your right hand back down and walk your right foot back forward halfway. So your right foot's sort of at a 45-degree angle. Frame your foot with your hands. So your legs are at a weird angle. Keep your toes grounded. And we're just going to bend into that front knee. Woo-wee! And then pull our way back and push into that back shin. You can use your hands on blocks if your ground is too far away. Push down into your front foot as you reach forward and bend your knee. Push down into your back shin as you reach back and straighten your knee. Do that 2 more times. Forward and back. And forward and back. Walk your right foot over to where the block is. Move your block out of the way. Take your hands around your front foot. And then slide your right leg all the way back and around. Cross it over to the left side of your mat. What's happening here? Bend your right knee and tuck it up behind your left knee. Both shins on the ground, both feet untucked, and then push your hips back. I like you to really untuck your tailbone. Try to widen your sitting bones and just take a few breaths there. You can add a bit more movement here if you want to for a few breaths, sort of like cat-cow. So inhale as you push your hips back and widen your sitting bones. And exhale to come forward and just the smallest bit of rounding of your spine. Inhale back. Exhale forward. And this time stay back. Let your left elbow get heavy, even touch the ground, and maybe even reach your right arm slightly forward. So you can sort of push against your sticky mat forward with your right hand as you pull your right hip back away from it and bring back that side bend sensation. Start to pull yourself up, slowly straighten your left arm, bring your right leg back to neutral, bring your right hand back to center. Let's do a little bit of rib rotations, like your ribs are a washing machine. Circle them around and around, and then change the direction. Come back to center. Take that block under your left knee now, please. Both hands on the ground. Left knee on the block. Keep your right knee at that 90-degree angle as you start to slowly lift your right thigh up. Keeping your knee off the ground, and exhale, bring your right knee back down. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. And one more. Lift. And lower. Keep your right knee down. Shift your weight over and take that block under your left hand now. Slide your left leg back. Lift your left foot off the ground without lowering your belly to do so, and then bend your knee. And this time we're going to make clockwise circles with the left knee. Sweep it around as big as you can make them. And this time step that left foot outside your block on the left. Keep your hand on the ground. Keep your hand on the block. Push down with your foot and shin and start to pull your right hand up to the sky. Like you're pulling a bow and arrow. Lean back against that left thigh. Lean back against an imaginary wall. Bring your right hand back down to the ground. Slowly place it down. Shift your weight into your right hand. Push down with your left foot and your right shin as you draw your left hand up to the sky, but try to keep your left knee reaching away from you. It really is going to want to get closer to your chest, but don't let it. Keep it at a safe distance. Lower your left hand down and hook your thumb into your left hip crease and use that hook to sort of push down as you pull your right hand up to the sky. With that hooked thumb, you can encourage your left hip to stay externally rotated. So your left hip stays heavy because it wants to lift all the way up, but don't let it as you side bend a little bit over to your left. Keep heavy in your left hip, foot, and your right shin. And if you want to add that same little bit of movement, slowly look over towards your armpit and then turn it the other way. And rotate that little bit into your ribs and your lumbar spine. One more. Stay centered and take your right hand back down to the ground. Walk your left foot, that one's a foot, the lower hand, the leg foot. Walk your left foot over to the left so your foot becomes in line with your right knee-ish. And then take your left hand and push your knee gently away from you. Place your right hand on that block. That's where we needed to have it. Right hand on the block. Push your left knee back away from you and start to just rock your whole weight back. Like you're moving your whole thigh as one unit. Pushing back. And keep your left toes connected to the ground so your foot moves through different ranges of motion as well as the rest of your body. Come back to center. Keep your left hand where it is and start to reach your right hand up to the sky. Let your tailbone get really heavy as you do this, and then bring your left forearm onto your thigh And side bend over to left for the extended side angle variation. Think about your right hip trying to reach all the way over to the right. And at the same time, you're also using your forearm to push your left knee away from that right hip. Slowly lift yourself up from that. Walk your left foot back in to about a 45-degree angle from where it was. And we're going to frame that foot with your hands on blocks or not on blocks. I'm going to move my blocks out of the way so you can see. Tented fingertips if you're not on blocks. Really push down with your right shin. Spread the toes of your left foot and bend forward into that left knee, keeping your knee in line with your middle-ish toes. And then pull back as you exhale. Forward. Sort of pulsing forward and back like your body's a little piston trying to build up the energy. 2 more. And 1 more. Come forward once again. Walk your hands back over onto your mat. Walk your foot back over to the mat. And then slide your left foot all the way back. Glide it over to the right. Bend your left knee to tuck it up behind your right knee. Both feet untucked, shins on the ground. Push your weight back and lift up your tailbone as you inhale. Pull your weight forward and exhale. Tuck your tailbone. Inhale back. Exhale forward. And this time stay back. Let your right elbow get heavy, maybe even to the ground. And push your left hand slightly forward and press away from you with your left hand as you pull back with your left hip. Allow that left armpit to get heavy so you're not shrugging your shoulder up. Like you should be able to see some of your armpit, just even through your peripheral vision. Slowly pull your hips forward and press into your right hand to lift your body up. Take your left knee back down to the ground, uncrossing your legs and your left hand back to neutral. And I want you to once again roll your ribs around into some nice big circles. Change the direction of those circles. Come back to center. Tuck your toes under, lift your knees up and push your hips back. Come into a downward facing dog. Keep your fingers spread. Keep your toes spread. And then heavy your armpits. Let them try to reach toward each other a little bit. Walk your feet up towards your hands. Bend at your knees as much as you need to do so and come into a dangly pose. Then take your blocks. Place your blocks down at their tallest height and take an inhale to lift up halfway. And as you exhale, put a tiny bend in your knees and just flatten your palms onto the tops of your blocks. Maybe a little bend in your elbows so that your shoulders can stay unshrugged. Imagine that somebody's pulling your triceps back. Bend your right knee, shift weight into your right foot, but keep your left foot grounded. And then bend your left knee and shift weight into your left foot, but keep your right foot grounded. Sort of like you're skiing, just go right and left. One more to the right. One more to the left. And this time, as you come to the right, keep your right knee bent. Keep weight in that right hand. And start to straighten your left leg as you pull your left hand up to the sky. Exhale to lower your left hand back down. Shift your weight into the left side, bending your knee and elbow. Straighten your right limbs, and then pull your right arm up to the sky. Exhale to lower your right hand back down. Both hands on the blocks. Push down into your heels, push down into the blocks, flatten your back, and then reach all the way forward and up. Take a big breath in, interlace your fingers and press your palms to the sky. Keep weight in your heels and then side bend a little bit to your right. Inhale back to center. Side bend to the left, exhale. Come back to center. Exhale your hands down onto your hips. Step your left leg back. Not a huge amount, and turn your toes out a little bit. So if you imagine the front of your mat is 12 o'clock, have your back toes turned to like 10:30, 11 o'clock even. Keep your right knee bent. And then I want you to hinge slightly forward so that your back is at a similar angle to your back leg, and allow your sitting bones to get relaxed and wide. So try to unclench your butt. Not a full sticking out of your butt, but relax it. Exhale and inhale into the sides of your ribs, and exhale to draw your front ribs toward your spine. And reach your arms out. Turn your palms slightly up. And push down with both feet as you inhale into the palms of your hands until your arms feel longer. Keep that length as you exhale to pull your ribs up away from your thigh and get heavier in your feet. Take another breath like that. Inhale out to your fingertips. Exhale, pull your ribs up. This time as you inhale, reach your arms forward as if you're about to clap, but don't. And then exhale to lower your hands down back onto your blocks, nice and tall blocks. This time, inhale, bend your right knee even more, as much as you can, and it doesn't matter if your hips glide a little bit and shift. And as you exhale, straighten your right leg and bend your left. And allow your body to rotate and pivot as you do this, forward and back, moving like a piston once again. Inhale forward, but keep all of your toes connected, please. Exhale back. Inhale forward. Allow your knees to move in the same direction your toes are pointing. Exhale back. And one more. Come to center with both legs straight and try to push your right hip back and your left hip forward. A lot of temptation is to sort of keep your legs out and sticking out, but we're going to try to move against that just for a moment. So pull your right outer hip back, pull your left forward hip point forward. So your inner thighs are even closer together. And then take the block under your right hand and move it inside your right foot so it's sort of near your arch. Forget about the other block. And slowly lift your left arm up and allow your left hip to rotate back as you do this to come towards Trikonasana, triangle pose. Keep your toes wide and grounded. And we're going to move through a rotation and a lift all at the same time. So stick with me here. Pull your left ribs back. Pull your left hip back. And feel your right butt cheek tuck underneath you as if you're trying to encourage your inner thigh to reach your elbow more. And then slowly start to pull yourself up off of the block. And as you lift up, lower your left hand down, reach your right hand up, and rotate your whole body over toward the right as much as you can. Hello! And then slowly go back the way you came, rotating back down into triangle pose. Again, lift yourself up, allow your feet, your thighs, your hips, your pelvis, your ribs, and your head to rotate to the right with your right arm up. And exhale back down. Last one. Lower your left hand down to the other block. Take both blocks in front of your foot, framing your foot, and bend your right knee. Step your left foot up, standing forward fold once again, and dangle for a moment, noticing the difference between left and right. Even though there always is a difference, you might notice more or different differences this time. Lift up halfway as you inhale. Keep that lift, push down with your heels, and stand all the way back up. Reach your arms up to the sky. Inhale, interlace your fingers, press your palms all the way up. Exhale over to the left this time. And then inhale to center. And exhale over to the right. And back to center. Lower your hands down onto your hips. Step your right foot back. And turn your toes out towards 130-ish. Keep your left knee bent. Keep an eye on that big toe. You want to be able to see it at all times. Like, you don't really trust it to be out of your sight. Hinge at your hip, your left hip, so that your back is at a similar angle to your back leg. Pull your outer left hip back as if you're trying to stretch that front thigh. And then let your sitting bones get wide and relaxed. Let your tailbone start to not untuck fully, but not tuck either. Neutral is a nice word for that. Inhale out to the sides of your body. Let your arms reach out. Exhale, pull your ribs away from your thigh. Rotate your palms slightly up and inhale into the palms of your hands. Exhale your ribs in and up. And one more inhale to your fingertips. And exhale heavy in your feet. Sweep your arms forward almost to a clap. Exhale your hands down onto your blocks. Keep your knees bending the same direction your toes point as you inhale to bend into your left knee. And then exhale, straighten left, bend into your right knee. And your hips are going to want to move to do this. Let them. Inhale forward, hips rotate a bit. Exhale back into the right knee. Inhale forward. Exhale back. And one more. Everything's clicking. Come forward. Take your left block, place it inside by your left, the arch of your left foot. I just had to move because my carpet is in the wrong spot. Straighten both legs. Pull your right hip forward. Push your left hip back. Push down with your left hand, and then as you pull your right hand up, allow your right hip to reach back, your right ribs to reach back, and think about your left butt cheek scooping underneath you to try to bring your inner thigh to be more visible. Now really stay heavy in your feet. Allow your feet, your hips, your legs to rotate as you do this next movement. As if you're using an imaginary rope, pull your body up. Sweep your left hand up and rotate your whole body around and slightly to the left. And then exhale, rotate back over to the right. Lower your left hand, reach your right hand up. Pull yourself back up, rotate to the left. Pull yourself back down, rotate to the right. And one more. Lower your right hand back down to the ground, onto your blocks. Blocks in front of your front foot. Bend your left knee and step your right foot in. Standing at the front of your mat. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale to fold. Stand yourself all the way up. And turn to face the long edge of your mat, please. And take your blocks in front of the long edge of your mat. I've got one hair that just keeps getting in my way. Take your feet nice and wide. And with your feet wide, comfortable width for you, not extreme. If you're hyper mobile, then turn it down a notch maybe, just so you don't go too extreme. We want to stay within a comfortable range of motion that we can control rather than just going to the extreme range. Take a breath in and fold forward. Place your hands onto your blocks. Inhale to lengthen your spine as if you're almost trying to extend your back, but not an extension. So just really sticking your bum back, wide sit bones. Keep that, and then exhale, bend your right knee. And inhale to center, and exhale, bend your left knee. Inhale, exhale. One more to the left. And this time, bend your right knee. Move your hands with the blocks over to the right. Maybe lower them down if you need to. I'm going to go to the lowest level, but I'm still going to use the blocks. And then I want you to start to rotate your left foot up and push your bum back as you do this. And then rotate down. So if your heel wants to lift, if your right heel wants to lift, then push your bum back more and lower. Bend your right knee, push your bum back. And one more time. Keep your toes down. Walk your hands forward. And we're going to just rock forward and back. So keep that right knee bent. Keep your left foot on the ground. Rock forward and back. And think about trying to lift up the arch of your left foot. Come back to neutral. Walk your hands back. Straighten up your blocks and straighten your right leg. Exhale, bend your left knee. Lower your blocks down if you need to and closer to your left foot. Keep your left foot grounded. Start to rotate your right toes up and push your bum back and down. Doesn't matter if they point all the way up. That's not necessarily what we need to get to. If maybe eventually they do, then that's you working on your range of motion, and that's fine. If they never do, then maybe your range is different than somebody else's, and that's also fine. Lift and lower. And you might feel totally different from those other side to this side. And one more. Keep your foot grounded. Think about lifting the arch of your foot. And keep your left knee bent. Walk your blocks a little bit forward. And we're just going to glide our weight forward and back. Forward and back. Two more. And one more. Come back to center. Walk your hands back. Straighten your left leg. Lift up your blocks to their highest level once again. Straighten your spine. Bring your feet in just a little bit so they're still wide, but more like goddess pose. Have your toes pointed a bit out and bend your knees. Reach your bum back. Move your block slightly forward, maybe even off your mat. And what we're going to do is from here, bend your knees so they go in the same direction as your toes. Push your bum back and down any amount, and it can be super high, it can be really deep. It doesn't matter. But what I'd like you to do is push your bum back and then pivot to drop your right knee down any amount. So you're going to pick up that right heel, pivot on the toes, and bring your knee down. Maybe to the ground, maybe not. And then pivot on your toes to bring your right knee back to that supported goddess pose. And then pivot on your left toes, pick up your heel, bring your left knee down. And back. Pivot your right knee down. And back. And left. And back. And right. And back. Last one. Stand all the way up. Slowly lift yourself up. Hands onto your pelvis. Take a big breath. Walk your feet back in towards the middle. Jump them if you want to. Take your blocks back toward the front of your mat. This uneven carpet is not helping with stability. Stand back at the front of your mat. Hands onto your pelvis. I want you to slowly slide your right leg back. Keep your toes tucked under. And then bend both knees to lower yourself down toward the ground. Glide your weight into your front foot. Keep your tailbone heavy. Hands to your blocks, and then lift up your right knee and step your right foot forward. Stand all the way up, hands onto your pelvis. Glide your left foot back. Keep your toes tucked under. Bend both knees. Keep your tailbone heavy. Lower your left knee to the ground. Shift your weight into that front foot with your tailbone staying heavy. Hands on your blocks. Lift up your left knee and slide your left foot in. Stand all the way up. We're going to do that one more time with each leg. Slide your right leg back. Toes stay tucked. Stop at a comfortable distance of a step back. Keep your tailbone heavy. Bend your right knee. Lower your knee to the ground. Shift your weight to your left foot with your tailbone still heavy. Take your hands to your blocks. Lift up your right knee and slide your right foot in. Stand all the way up. Hands onto your pelvis. Slide your left leg back. Tuck your toes under. Tailbone tucked. Bend both knees to lower your left knee down to the ground. Put weight into your right foot. Hands onto your blocks. Lift up your left knee and slide it back in. Stand all the way up. Big breath in. Reach your arms up. As if you're doing a pull-up. Exhale to bring your elbows out to cactus. And then down, down, down. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Keep your elbows bent and reach those bent elbows towards each other as you also reach your knuckles down towards the ground. And exhale. On your next exhale, hinge at your hips and fold forward. And let those knuckles rest on your low back or reach up to the sky. Keep your elbows slightly bent and reaching toward each other. Take another breath. And on your exhale, release your fingers from each other and gently take your hands down to the ground. Walk your feet back, downward facing dog. Take your knees gently to the ground. Untuck your toes. Push your hips back towards your heels. Let your soften so that your armpits can get really heavy. And let your breath reach its way all around your body once again. Meeting its way down to your tailbone and heavy your body onto your heels. Breath reaches its way down your arms to let them get heavy like anchor chains on a seabed. And then your whole body starts to feel bundled up, at ease, and able to just be heavy to the ground. Slowly sit yourself up. Turn to face the long edge of your mat and sit down on your bum or on a blanket or a cushion. Take your legs, knees out wide, soles of your feet together, and get your fingers in between your toes. Doesn't matter how close to your groin your heels get, just let your knees flutter a little bit like a butterfly. And on your next exhale, slowly allow yourself to fold any amount forward. Inhale to lift yourself back up. Release your fingers from your toes. Bring your knees back in toward each other. And take your right leg out to the right. Bring your left heel into your groin. Turn your body to your right leg and fold toward it any amount. And one more breath. Slowly lift yourself up from your legs, but keep your legs as they are. Rotate to your left and take your right hand to your thigh, left hand behind you. Try to keep your right hip heavy. Maybe even get that feeling of like you're leaning back a little bit. Slowly untwist yourself. Bring your right heel in, straighten your left leg out. Turn toward your left leg and fold toward it for about 3 or 4 breaths. On your next inhale, slowly lift yourself up. Rotate to your right, left hand onto your knee, right hand behind you, and lean back a little bit so both sitting bones stay heavy and you have a nice proud chest for this rotation. Slowly bring yourself back. Bend your left knee. Bring both legs in front of you. Lean back into your hands. Keep your feet wide, knees bent at 90 degrees-ish, and just windshield whip your knees a little bit side to side. If you don't want to reach down, you can just let gravity do the work and go only as far as your range of motion lets you. Come back to center. Bring yourself back to face the long edge of your mat. Hug your right knee in. And roll back onto your back. Left. Let your left foot stop where it needs to before your tailbone wants to untuck. And then maybe left leg a bit. And as you exhale, pull yourself up to sit. So you use your bent knee to push into your hands to help lever you up. Swap sides, hug your left knee into your chest. Take a big breath in. Exhale to roll onto your back and let your right leg come up to the air. Slowly lower your right leg down. Don't let your tailbone untuck. Take a big breath in and push your shin into your hands to exhale. Sit yourself back up. Should we do that one more time? Just because it makes sense now. Swap hands. Bend your right knee. Clasp around your shin. Take a breath in. Roll slowly back onto your back. Left leg to the air. Gently lower your leg until your tailbone wants to untuck. Take a breath in. As you exhale, push your shin into your hands to sit yourself back up. And then swap sides once again. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, roll onto your back. Right leg in the air. Slowly lower your right leg down. Don't let your tailbone untuck. Inhale to lengthen. Prepare yourself, and exhale, push your shin into your hands and sit back up. And then straighten both your legs out in front of you and fold toward them. Blocks can get out of the way. And then take your blocks once again, sit back up. Have your blocks under your calves. Roll yourself back down. Do any last little fidgets that you might want to do. The microphone's pressing into my tummy. Any last fidgets? Take your hair out, take your glasses off, get some blankets, turn the whole thing off, and just get back into bed. Do what you need to do to get super comfy so that you can then chill out and allow your body to sink down into the ground. And let each breath reach its way down and around every corner of your skin so that each exhale can then let your skin pull your body deeper into that resting position. And finally, allow your breath to settle and calm enough that you can barely feel any movement in response to your breath. And maybe you can barely even hear your breath at all. Stay here as long as you want. This is your practice at your home. But if you need to start getting ready for the rest of your day, allow your breath to get deeper and longer. And as your breath deepens and lengthens, maybe introduce some little wiggles, starting with small movements into your fingers and toes, and gradually increase the intensity to come into bends and clicks and twists. Maybe rock your head a little bit side to side. Reach your arms overhead. And when you're ready to, bend your knees one at a time, place your feet on the ground, and roll yourself slowly over to one side before using your hands to press you up to a comfortable seat. And then let yourself take whatever time you need to thank yourself, thank your time, be grateful for the energy and the space that you've got. And thank you for joining me again. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day.